In this very special episode, we bring you an exclusive look at Thomas Trass' stunning reef tank. He owns Rhein-Main Riffaquaristik, one of the most unique reef shops in Germany. However successful, he has seen his share of failure. Join us as he shares his panacea with humor and intelligence. Very inspirational, all the way to the very end. You have to love reefing. We're in the beautiful home of Thomas here in Germany. Thomas, thank you for being on our channel today.
My pleasure.
Thank you for welcoming us to your house. It is a magnificent tank, as you can see from what's back there. So, Thomas, what is the name of your company?
My company name is Rhein-Main Riffaquaristik.
And how do you say that in English?
And it's the same.
It's the same?
You can't translate it. Rhein-Main is the area where I'm in.
Okay.
Rhine River and Main River, which is close to Frankfurt am Main.
Uh-huh.
So
okay.
that's how it comes.
Okay, so Thomas has a really unique situation. And basically, life changes put him in a position now where he's basically has a beautiful tank plus a thriving business within the same situation. So, Thomas, how long have you been in reefing?
Reefing is about almost 20 years now.
20 years.
But I've done freshwater for all my life, more or less, since I was, I think, 10 years old. And so I'm crazy with what fish are concerned. And I switched to reefing about 20 years ago. Started with a small tank, as usual, and getting bigger and bigger. And,
of course.
This year, in March, this is about, 8 months back, I decided to have a big tank.
And this is the baby back here.
This is my new
So
baby.
what was here before? How big?
The previous tank was about 700 liters.
Okay.
And this one is 1,560 now.
Wow. He went extreme. But you know what? Obviously, he's good at it. So now, you've been in the hobby a long time. Like everyone else, have you found yourself going in one method, then changing to another method, then changing to another method in your travels of these 20 years?
Yes, of course. I mean, you learn every day. You try out different things. Some things work, some don't, and you find out the basics first, and sometimes successful, sometimes not so successful. So I started with a 175 liters tank. After 1 year, it crashed. And
obviously, you learned something from that crash,
yes,
right?
Definitely.
And I think it's important for our audience to realize that, upon success, there's failures along the way.
Definitely.
And you learn from these failures.
Yeah.
So in that failure, in that crash, what happened and what made you correct it and how did you correct it?
I had to learn, first of all, that the water parameter measurements, the things I used to measure, they failed. They went bust within the normal validity. So I had NO3, my measurement was 0, but in fact I had 50. 50.
Okay.
And if you have 0, if you measure 0, you think, oh, I can buy another fish. So you do, and it's just the opposite what you should do. I had too many rocks in my aquarium, live rocks at this point of time, which also did not help. A lot of rubbish in there,
so
nutrients build up, and so on. And this was more or less the failure of my first tank. Yeah.
So now, okay, so you figured out that the equipment that you had for testing didn't work. They failed you.
It was the same, by the way, with PO4, which is also a very important parameter, as we know. And it happened. The same thing happened.
Right. Yeah. So the readings were incorrect.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you thought you were within the correct parameters.
Exactly.
Now, how did you find out that the testing was bad and they were giving you incorrect numbers? How did you figure that out?
I simply bought new, how do you call them in English?
Test kits.
New test kits, yeah. And then, of course, I knew, okay, what was going wrong, but it was too late for this tank. But I had plans already to buy a new, bigger tank. So I started from scratch with a new tank with less rocks inside and better scaping and so on. More corals, less fish, and so on.
Okay, so you went and you corrected the situation by realizing the test kits were expired. They were giving you incorrect readings. You bought new ones. Yeah. You were able to correct the situation.
They were not on paper. They were not expired. They were still within the validity. So this can happen. This is one of the takeaways maybe from this video.
Right.
If you have suddenly you measure some values which cannot be true, better double check with another test kit or whatsoever.
Yeah, sometimes a different brand. Sometimes. But you have to be careful with the brands too, because some brands are better than others.
That is very true. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went from that aquarium to a much larger,
400 was the second.
Okay, so 400.
And this one was pretty successful. I had very beautiful colors and corals at this time. So, okay, as every tank, it's getting too small. So I decided for the next level.
That's what happens. You know, the addiction gets us, and then the tank is just not big enough.
No tank is big enough. This is what I can tell you. Even the one in the back here, it's now, what did I say, 7-8 months old, and it's already full. Of course, you want to do more, but there's a limit. So in the meantime, I'm in a position where I changed some corals.
You know, and he's right. I mean, he's got this tank and it's full. Meanwhile, you know, I find some space in it, but he's got it full, and he's anticipating the growth of the animals. Yes, so that's also important.
I'm in midst of restructuring a bit.
Okay. So, and look, it's only 7 months old. He's already going to restructure. Yeah. This is basically your home tank, but downstairs is your shop.
Yes.
Right? So tell the audience what you keep down there.
Well, I have 3 more tanks in my basement, and one is for SPS. This one is linked to the big tank here, which is also SPS dominated. I have a separate one for LPS, and I have a third one for quarantine.
Right.
A smaller one for quarantine.
Okay. So the one now, the quarantine one, nobody touches that. It's your personal private thing.
Of course, people look at it and they want to buy sometimes. I said, yes, you can, but not now.
Not now. Not until the quarantine. And that's a great model to have, because when you find a shop that quarantines their stuff, that means they care. And if they're not willing to sell you anything from what's in quarantine, they really care. Because a shop that doesn't care will sell you stuff that hasn't been monitored closely.
Yes.
And he's a shop that if he's going to sell you something, no pests, and it's in perfect condition. Right?
I can't promise no pest. Nobody can, I think, but I'm doing my very best.
Right.
For sure to avoid it.
It's hard because
it's hard. Yeah,
you know, here's the interesting thing. When you dip a coral and the polyps get closed up, okay, so like an SPS coral, it has the polyps extended, and then you disturb it, it closes in, it brings in the polyps into the skeleton. Yeah. When it's doing that, there could be a pest near the tips, and it brings it inside. Yeah. And now that pest is being insulated by everything that you're, trying to use to remove the pest. Yeah. So these are little things that can get by us, no matter how well we dip. So we dip, quarantine, monitor it again, see any pests, dip it again.
Yes.
So how long is your quarantine process?
Well, it depends on where the animals come from. I do not import myself, so my corals have gone through wholesalers who most probably also did some pest control. And I usually keep them at least 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
4 weeks, yeah.
See, that's wonderful because in 4 weeks, he'll determine if the coral's healthy, if the coral will prosper, also if there's any pests, he can possibly catch it. And then he brings it out into the main system that has more quality control, right? Because the lighting is different, everything else is different.
Yes.
Now, when you move an animal from quarantine to your main selling systems, how long do you leave it in there before you decide that it's ready for sale? Or is it ready for sale the moment it goes in there?
The moment it goes inside. That's it should present itself nicely once it moves to the bigger tank, and if it does, it's fine for sale.
Okay.
It's, but I must say that I would say at least 80% of my corals are from private breeders, even my own. Some come from here.
Okay.
So which are adjusted to our lights, to our water parameters, and so on. So they don't need adjustment. Also, pest control in this case is also important, but not that important. Those corals are ready for sale much faster.
The customers that are coming here are very discerning customers. They're looking, if they're coming to Thomas, they're coming to a really exclusive place, because you're not just open to the general public, right? Or are you?
I am. Actually, I am. I don't ship any corals. That is maybe interesting to know. I just sell here in my shop, so people have to come here. I want them to see what they buy and not buy based on a photo which was made maybe 3 months earlier. So they take what they like, and they can see that the coral is healthy, and then no problems.
Okay.
Besides, all the time it would require to make photos, to update the shop, and so on. I don't even have a shop, an online shop. I don't sell. I only sell here.
So this is an interesting platform, because at the end of the day, this man created an entity that's a little bit different from everyone else. Everyone else has a website.
Yes.
Everyone else advertises. You basically are word of mouth.
Not only, but in the meantime, yes.
Right.
Most of them word of mouth. There was another video made some 4 months ago. It was distributed about 4 weeks ago. And from there, I get a lot of new customers now.
Right.
For example, but they know they have to come here.
Exactly. Yeah. Frankfurt is a beautiful, quaint town. Are there a lot of reefers here, or are you getting a lot from other cities coming here?
Well, I have both. Of course, the majority comes from our area, maybe within a range of 50, 60, 70 kilometers. But I have customers from all over Germany, and even one of your customers used to be my customer and is still my customer.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Wajid.
Wajid, how are you? Look, we're mentioning you, and we love you, man. You're an amazing guy.
Yeah.
That's how I learned about you.
Yeah.
Because Wajid said, "Oh, do you know Thomas?" And I said, "Well, I know a lot of Thomas. You know, there's Thomas from Italy, there's Thomas from Germany, there's Thomas from France."
Yeah, of course.
So he said to me, "No, he's like this. He's from Germany." Yeah. I said, "Who knows? Maybe he was in one of the books." But he did introduce us, and I said, "Okay." And I was intrigued because I went online and I researched you, and I found the video that you're talking about, and I got a little jealous. I was like, how is it that I do not know this man?
Well, now you know me.
Now I know
Thanks
you.
for coming.
And I'm really excited to be here.
I need to tell you another nice story. I have a customer in Denmark. Denmark, and his place is some 805 kilometers away from my place. And he bought lamps from me earlier on, and then we talked a lot over phone and so on, and WhatsApp. And recently he flooded his tank, so he flooded means he put water inside.
Oh, okay.
That's how we call it here.
Yeah, for us that's a bad word, man.
No. That's all okay.
Okay.
And so he needed corals.
Yes.
But he didn't have much time, so he sat in the car in the evening and drove not up to my place, because I said, okay, I'll do you a favor. I come up to Kassel, which is some 200 kilometers north from here. So he had 200 kilometers less to go. And I had 2 boxes of corals with me, and they are now in Denmark. And he is coming to see me in another 2 weeks from now. He's coming here. He will stay here overnight.
Okay.
Have a rest, and then next day we collect corals here for his really big tank, and then the following day he will drive home. And so let's see. These are the little stories which
most people don't know about.
No. Yeah. And these are things which I really like.
How did all this begin?
Actually, I was, and I'm still a hobbyist. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with this tank and with all the corals downstairs. And sometimes it's a little tragedy if I sell a coral which I like.
So why sell?
No, I have to because I'm financing my hobby with the shop.
Right.
The good thing is that I'm retired and I don't have to run this shop. I will do it as long as I like.
Right.
And as long as I have fun, and I'm compared to a normal shop who has to pay rental, who has to pay for staff and so on, I'm in a better position.
Right. But what put you in that position? Because you did not work in this business before.
Not at all.
Right. So how did you get from what you were doing to this?
It started with me selling my own fracs, which came from my previous tank, which did really well. And I had a very small frac tank downstairs, which was linked to my bigger system. And so I started selling my own fracs, and more and more people came. The word spread amongst the hobbyists, and it was getting more and more and too much for a private business. So I decided to register a company. That was about a year before I retired from my normal job.
Right. So that's where I wanna begin. You were doing a normal job.
Yes.
Okay. So where did you work, and how did you come to this?
I worked in the airline business for many years, and this came to an end in the first year of COVID.
Oh my God! So many things happened before that. Oh my goodness!
Sorry, I was wrong. It was the following year. It was
during
COVID. in December. So during this year, during the first year of COVID, I made a decision. Okay, I register my own company, and I do what I always wanted to do. I make my hobby a profession.
Right.
And I'm in the good position that I don't need to earn money from this.
Right.
Yeah, of course I do, because it takes most of my time. I spend enormous time with this shop and hobby also, and this has to be rewarded somehow.
So pretty much you open your house to your customers, because you have to come through the house in order to see this work of art, and then you have to come through the house to go downstairs to see what you want to come and buy.
Right.
Do you find that your customers take up a lot of your time when they get, or do the customers come and they don't want to leave?
No, that's more or less the case. I think the average stay is at least 1 hour.
The average,
at least, but The maximum one day was, I think, 5 hours or 6 hours.
Oh my goodness!
But I had fun, so it was okay. So,
Right,
yeah.
and it makes your day go by, right? Because
Yes, of course.
at this point in time, you're retired,
Yes.
but you're working your business.
Yeah.
So you always find something to do with the tank,
Yes.
with the systems downstairs. But the customers do occupy your
Yes.
time,
Yes.
and before you know it, it's time to go to sleep.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Yeah. So and it's not done with just doing sales. You need to clean the stuff. You need to buy equipment. Need to do accounting, etc., etc. Right.
And you're a one-man team, right?
One man.
You're doing this all by yourself.
I have no employees. Yeah.
No employees.
Yeah.
So you do this by yourself. Now, you're doing this now for how long?
Professionally, 4.5 years.
4.5 years. Are you finding it worth your while?
Yes, definitely. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
And the moment I don't find it worthwhile to do, I will stop.
Okay. You're open to the customers. They come in through the house.
Mm-hmm.
You have set hours.
Yes, I have set hours in my Google profile. But my customers, every customer who is here for the first time, I ask them to make an appointment.
Right.
Because I need to go shopping. Maybe I'm only away for half an hour or 1 hour, and I don't want the customer to stand in front of my door.
Well, yeah, that's true, because you want to be able to go and take care of your household needs,
Yes, so
right? And also your private needs.
Of course, yeah.
So, are you open 7 days a week?
Not 7 days, but 5.
5 days.
I'm closed on Wednesdays and Sundays.
And
Sundays is in Germany is public holiday or is closed.
Right.
All shops are closed here on Sundays. Right. And I've decided to take Wednesday as my second day, because during this day I need to do a lot of work also.
Right.
And sometimes I go fishing.
Well, you got to take care of yourself personally.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
You have doctor's appointments. You got to go get the car's oil change done. There's a lot of things that, on a personal basis. Yeah. So you're a one-man team. You have to find quality time for yourself.
Definitely.
I always say the success of the aquarium is based on the tenacity of the hobbyists.
Yeah.
You're obviously very tenacious with your aquarium
too. Yeah.
What is it that is your preference to use to make you successful? Because your frag system downstairs is amazing too. Mm-hmm. And the colors on the frags were just, there's one coral that I saw, I said, no, that has to come home with me. But your methodology for success, what are the critical important things that you feel that has made you successful?
I think in reef keeping there are 3 major things which you need to obey. Number 1, excellent light. Number 2, excellent current. And of course the water parameters.
Right.
Yeah, so it's really important to have a stability here in terms of water parameters. So I measure my parameters on a very regular basis, not once per week. I would say 3 times at least per week. Mm-hmm. And it's 2 systems I need to measure. For the third system, I just do regular heavy water changes.
Right.
And so that works for me.
Okay, so you're measuring. What is your preference of testing? What test kits do you use?
Well, for salinity, I'm using an electrical tool, WTW. It's a kind of professional tool. It's very expensive, so I had to really fight with me whether I want to buy it or not.
Uh-huh.
But I regularly check this against a normal areometer. I don't know. Yeah, because this, in my opinion, is the most critical, one of the most critical tools that an hobbyist has.
Right.
I have seen more than 40 customers where salinity was way out of range. And most of them were using refractometer. What is it in English?
Yeah, finding that the refractometer was a gadget when it first came out. It was like one of the most critical things you wanted to get, because there was the swing needle, right? But the swing needle, if it built up calcium carbonate on the needle, now it wasn't measuring correctly, and you had to constantly clean it and dip it and everything. But I found that the refractometer was very critical. Then, all of a sudden, there's so many refractometers in the market, and a lot of them are just garbage.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely just garbage. No matter how much you calibrate it, it's giving you incorrect readings. And I think they're selling them to the hobbyists, but they're really for other entities, other different types of measurements.
Yes. That is one. I mean, it starts with salinity.
Right.
If salinity is not correct, the other like KH, calcium, and so on cannot be correct either.
Right.
So these are the other three I measure: KH, calcium, magnesium, and of course, which is very critical, is the nutritions, PO4 and nitrate.
Yes.
Can be nowadays how we set up our reef can be very, very important to measure this.
Right. Now, you measured those things. For those regular testing, what test kits do you use for that?
I'm using HANA checkers.
Okay, HANA checkers are very good.
For KH, PO4 and nitrate.
Right.
And I'm using Salifert for calcium and magnesium. Sometimes I'm also use refractory test kits, which are also very, very good. And there's no difference to Salifert, I would say. And that's it. That's what I do here.
Okay. So now the water parameter things, you say you do at least 3 times a week. Now, I noticed that you got some really dynamite lights on your tank. What are you lighting your aquarium with?
I'm using the refractory lights, which is the Reef Flare Blue, as the main lighting system, and I'm using the bars 2 actually, which came out maybe half a year ago or 9 months ago.
And also made by Refractory.
Also made by Refractory, And they give a very, very intense light. You don't need to put them. You can't put them in 100%. Otherwise, you'll burn your corals.
Right.
I'm running the SPS at about 60% now, for example, and for LPS I'm really down to 30. That's 30% of what.
And the corals are responding perfectly to that.
Yes, and you see when it's too much. You can see that the oiphilia closing early after or late afternoon, too early. Then if the light is
it's still too bright. And what photo period are you running? In other words, how many hours of light are you giving the corals?
12 hours, exactly.
12 hours.
Yeah.
And are you using a ramp up or a quick start?
A small ramp up, 30 minutes.
30-minute
ramp up, and in the evening I have a longer ramp down, maybe 2 hours.
Okay, so 2 hours ramp down and 30 minutes to ramp up. And then you're stable for the rest of the day.
And after the strongest light is in the morning for 2 hours, and then I ramp down a little bit, 20%, and then later on even go further down.
Okay.
So I think it's important to have a full light for a couple of hours to produce the colors for SPS corals.
Right.
It's doing pretty well.
Right. And one of the things I did notice, I've seen a lot of reef tanks. I've seen a lot of beautiful tanks where the owner has a set of lights on that tank. But then when it came to their frag tank, they had a different set of lights. But in your case, you didn't.
No.
In your case, it's the same exact lights downstairs.
It's the same, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what you have for lights. Now, what about flow? Because you said flow is one of the most important aspects to the success of this tank.
I'm running this 3 meters tank with Tunze pumps. The latest model is the 6255 Echo. Very strong pumps, and if you design your reef that the water can flow a long range without any rocks in between and so on, then 2 pumps are enough. Yeah.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'm using 1 additional pump, but just to make the water move back and forth. How do you say in English? To
move back and forth.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So the corals sometimes swing.
Right.
Yeah. So like in nature also. And
okay. But I did notice something on your tank. The orca?
Yes, I'm using the orca.
That's also
yes. It helps you to that you don't have any dead corners where you have a lot of dirt falling down and so on. It helps a lot.
So it helps eliminate the dead spots.
Yes, definitely. And for me, it's I have very, very fine sand. I can't let it swing too much, but I'm still doing some maybe 20 degrees, 25 degrees.
Right.
In the previous tanks, I had a bigger swing. But if I swing them more than I do now, I don't see the sand anymore.
Right. It'll just push it from both sides into the middle.
Yeah. I decided for very fine sand because this never looks dirty. It is being
moved around easier,
much easier. And I had the same sand as in my previous tank, which I stopped when this big tank came. It was about 10 months old, and it was as bright as it is now. And I could have just swapped the sand into the new tank without cleaning it.
And what's good about this sand, I mean, it's really bright white sand. Mm-hmm. One of the most important aspects is reflection.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the lights actually reflect off the sand and provide more photosynthesis to the corals from underneath.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very important. So the orca is one of the things, and let me explain. The orca is a oscillating device that can move in. What's the maximum? 90 degrees?
No, much more.
Much more. 120?
270. I don't know how you can do 180 at least. I don't know by heart, but 180. You can put it in the middle of the tank.
Right.
And
so
it will
then
swing
you can
from
do
left to right 180.
That makes sense.
More you can't do anyway.
Right. Okay. And you have it set, you said, at 30?
Maybe 30%.
Right. Are you implementing these same exact things downstairs to your frac tank? Do you haven't worked on them?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
It's, eventually I will do. For the SPS tank, it would be quite good. So I'm considering this.
Okay. Now, as far as filtration is concerned for this tank, what is your filtration practice?
Well, first of all, you may have noticed that I do not have this, what is it in English? I don't know. Schacht, where the overflow.
Oh, overflow box.
The overflow box. It's not inside the tank. My overflow box is outside the tank.
Okay, so yes. And let me tell you something. Mm-hmm. That is so important, so key. Exactly. I just did a review on a Niles and a Red Sea, same size, 300 each. And what was most advantageous about the Niles is that there's no overflow box inside the tank.
Yes.
When you have the overflow box, you interrupt flow.
Yes, exactly.
And that's a problem.
That's why I did it. So the only thing you see inside is the 2 pumps, or the 3 pumps now.
Right, no overflow box. So you have an external overflow box.
Yes.
So it allows you to skim the water and send it to your filtration. Right. So what do you have for filtration?
For filtration, I'm running 2 filters. How do you call that in English? They're called smart rollers.
Oh, also filter fleece.
Filter fleece, right.
Yeah, or filter roller.
I have 2 of them. Usually one would be enough, but due to my special setup downstairs, I needed 2. So they take out the main dirt, the bigger dirt.
Right.
And then I have a skimmer, which is a Royal exclusive skimmer, and that's basically all.
Right. So So basically, it's the filter fleece and the filter roller.
Yeah.
I mean, the filter roller and the protein
And
skimmer.
the protein skimmer. Yeah.
Now, on the filter roller, do you know what the micron is on the fleece?
No, that's the ordinary, so to say, fleece which Reef Factory sells.
Okay. Yeah,
very,
I'm trying to get
actually.
more information on that because we're finding that some of the filter fleece are way too aggressive. So we just had a conversation a few days ago about a filter fleece that's doing 30 microns, and I think that's way too aggressive. As it was, I used to use 100 micron filter pads, and that was keeping my water clear.
Yes.
So to go to 30 is like, and it shuts the skimmer down if it's too aggressive.
Yes, that's true.
Right. So now the skimmer is like, I got no nutrient to play with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to find out exactly what each filter roller is doing out there as far as that's concerned.
It's a very, very thin fleece.
Right.
Yeah. So thinner than everything I know from other brands.
Okay. So now you're using the filter roller and you're using the protein skimmer. You're not using any carbon?
I used to use carbon. Lately I have not, but I have installed some ozone.
So you're using
system.
ozone?
I'm using ozone, but very little. And
so are you using the ozone through the skimmer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's a small machine from Sander.
Right. Yeah. They've been around forever.
Yes. A very, very good brand. And
still made in Germany, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm using the C50, which is the second smallest. We have the C25. C50 is the 100, I think. I'm using the C50, and it is running on less than 50%. So it's really...
And are you running it 24 hours a day or on a timer where it runs?
But it's on a controller.
So it's on a controller.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the redox does not move up too fast.
So you're not using the carbon. You stopped using carbon. What about phosphate removers?
Never needed.
Never needed it.
Never needed. At the moment, I had to add phosphates and nitrates.
I found that situation too.
And you see how many fish I have.
Right.
In the meantime, they have grown. There's plenty of fish, and now I'm at a situation where it is more or less stable, and I don't need to add anything anymore.
Okay.
But
so
I've never used a PO4 remover in this tank.
Okay.
And not in the previous tanks either.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that
you never saw a need
that is a result of the rocks which I'm using and the flow which I have in there. There's no dirty corners.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so this is what you're finding that's giving you the best success. Is there anything else that we should know about?
Maybe the rocks I'm using. I'm afraid they will not be available in Qatar.
That's fine.
Here in Germany, we
use live rock in Qatar.
Yeah. This is not so common here anymore. It's hard to get. It's expensive.
It is.
And you can bring in a lot of things which you don't want.
We also have a shipper out of Indo that polishes the rock for us before we get it.
Okay.
Sometimes you can get the rock and it's filthy. Well, our guy knows better than to ship us filthy rock. It has to be clean. It has to have coralline on it. It has to be perfect. And then we bring it in. We do some pest control management. And then we sell it to our customers.
Okay. Yeah. This is still okay, but if you look around here, what you get as live rock, sometimes it's not worth it.
Yeah, well, it's a shame because you can't bring in quality live rock.
Yeah. What I'm using here and what I'm also selling to my customers is a German brand. It's called Epo Reef. And it's very, very popular here and hard to get because the production capacity is limited. A friend of mine is doing it.
Oh, okay.
And it's a one-man show also. Yeah, so
you know, those are the best. I have to tell you, those are the best.
He's pretty famous because he has also produced videos and is on YouTube every now and then. And so besides he's doing a great job with this, he's a nice and interesting, funny guy. And well, I did my setup here, the reef setup, when we started this tank within maximum 45 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. So the whole tank setup from letting the water out of the old tank to fish and corals back in, it was 7 hours.
7 hours.
7 hours. I have a good team of friends here. Some I think we were 5. And everybody knows what he's doing. And so you don't have to tell them, can you please do this and this and this and so on. They see and they do. And so we managed in 7 hours. And if the tank builder, he did, how do you say, the fittings. He did the fittings. Plumbing. He took relatively long. Otherwise, we would have done it in 6 hours.
So he delayed you by an hour.
Yes.
No, well, you did a marvelous job. You also have the screen protector on the top.
Yes.
So that way you can prevent the animals from jumping out.
Yes, that's pretty important. I don't know the names of the fish in English, but there are some which are really jumping a lot. And
the wrasses, for example.
Yes.
They're very good jumpers.
Absolutely. The wrasses, all the wrasses. And but even with the net on top, we had fatalities where the fish were sitting on top of it.
Yeah. You know, it seems like the fish know exactly where to jump through.
Yes.
Because, you know, there's always a gap somewhere.
Okay, this is my SPN sales tank. It is linked to the one in my living room and full of mainly homebred frags, not only from me, but also from my friends, from customers.
Yes.
Doing pretty well, growing fast. Not more to say.
Well, what about this system here? Because you also have this here.
This is my separate LPS tank. It is not linked to the others.
So this one has its own filtration system.
Yes, but very simple also. In this case, no fleece filter, just the only thing I do is a skimmer,
Right.
protein skimmer, and some ozone.
Okay. And then there is your famous filtration system.
Yes.
Aha! One thing we did not talk about, and I'm glad we came down here. I see you have a calc stirrer.
Yes.
Aha.
Kalkwasser.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, we forgot to talk about this one. That's right.
That's okay. We're talking about it now.
I'm running this tank, or all the tanks with the KH keeper from Reef Factory.
Yes.
Actually, I measure my KH every hour.
Every hour.
Automatically, and the KH
You go through a
keeper-
lot of resin, huh?
Yes, and then the KH keeper also tells one of the pumps, this one is for KH, put something extra or stop dosing for now because the KH is a little bit high, and so on.
Okay.
It looks a bit weird here, to be honest, but it's easier if your cables are not stored away properly, because if you have to take out one of the pumps or whatever, it's much faster to take it out. I used to have a really clean, tidy setup before, but you get mad when you have system failure somewhere.
Exactly. And you know what? I always said, why hide these cables? I mean, sure, you can put them away neatly, but if you cable tie everything, you know, eventually something's going to go bad where you got to uncable tie everything.
Totally lost, yeah.
Yeah, so awesome. Oh, and look, we got a surprise visitor. Hi, Mara. Hi. She runs away.
Is there anything that you would like to tell our audience or advice to help them be more successful?
Yes, I think the most important thing is that you have somebody you can learn from. Don't learn too much from internet, because you have many ways to run a tank, and if you read and read and read, you get lost. Too much information and too much contradicting information also. So try to find somebody, either private or even a good dealer, who tells you how to run your tank for the first maybe 6-8 months, and who helps you with when there is something is going wrong, and then within this time range, you can learn a lot, and you can decide, okay, I want to do this a little bit different to what I was told, and so on. That's fine. But in the beginning, you need somebody you can lean on, and you can ask many questions and find a solution for your problems, which will certainly occur. That is, I think, the best advice I can give. I also, here in Germany, we have a lot of used tanks being sold. I also tell my customers, if you're not really sure, if you really want to get deep into this hobby, if this is something for you, buy a used tank first. It doesn't have to be very big. You can find out if you like it after half a year. You will know if you like it or not, and then you can buy a big tank and maybe a new tank, and have even more fun than before.
Oh,
you save a lot of cost by doing so. You don't lose too much money if you give up after 6 months, which some people do. I tell them the hobby is costly, and the hobby takes a lot of your time, and you must, if you can't provide one of these, better don't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or do it on a small scale.
Well,
not everybody needs a big tank like I need or I wanted. I started with 175 liters, and I had a lot of fun with it. So it's good. Every tank is too small after a relatively short time.
It is. And, for the many years that I've been doing this, every successful reef aquarium comes with a person who's very tenacious about their tanks and stay on top of it. Yeah. Yesterday, I was in Mara's house, Mara's Reef. Yeah. What an amazing aquarium she has.
Yeah. One of the best I know.
And if you see her, she's got scratches all up and down her arms because she's in there and she's working her tank and she's doing what she has to do. Mm. Meanwhile, she'll post any video and all you hear is, oh my God, because it's a gorgeous tank.
It is,
but why is it gorgeous?
Because she's working hard.
Because she's working at it. Yeah. Same thing with you. Yeah. You wake up in the morning and I'm sure the first thing you do is, okay, the tank is working because I can hear it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then you come down and you start doing your observations.
I hear it from upstairs. If a pump is going wrong or whatever, sometimes I hear it, yeah.
Right. And the worst sound is no sound.
Yes. Yes.
You wake up and you go, oh no, this is too quiet.
I had it once when I came home. I usually came home from my job 6-7 o'clock in the evening. And on this particular night, I came home at 10:30, and the whole house was dark and no power.
Oh!
And if I didn't have USV, then my tanks would have died.
Oh, okay, so you had the battery pack.
I had a battery pack, but it was empty the time I came home. Also,
the battery?
The battery was also empty.
So you had to recharge it.
And yes, and I found the problem. It was a small, tiny pump which had a electrical failure, and it killed the whole system. It won't happen again. I've done some changes on my electrical systems here, but at this time it was really very close.
You see, and these are lessons learned. These are little vital important things that will always help another hobbyist or help those that, and redundancy. I find redundancy is very important, right? One of your biggest issues can always be your return pump. Yes. If you don't have an extra one in the shelf, shame on you.
Yeah.
You should always have a backup.
And these problems always occur on the weekends.
Or when you go on
It is-
vacation,
Yeah. Or yes.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
When you go on vacation, your friend is calling you, hey, the system isn't working. Now you got to try and figure out, oh my God, how do I guide him through all of this?
Yes.
Right?
And you can imagine with my system downstairs that it is difficult for a
Anyone.
different person, for anyone, to find the problem and solve it and so on. That is why I hardly go on vacation. And if so, I'm within a time range of 4 to 5 hours maximum, and then I'm home.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this, Tomas. Thank you for allowing us to come to your home. I appreciate your time is valuable.
Thank you.
And I really am honored to finally come and see your tank. And one of the things I get a kick out of is when I go to somebody's house and I see something like this, it's so enjoyable. And you're very welcoming, but you have to be. You know, this is a
Of course,
business.
it's a business, yeah.
Right?
But in the meantime, many of my customers are more or less friends.
Right.
They still pay.
No, of course.
I have to run this system.
Yeah, no, hey,
And it
listen,
costs,
of
yeah.
course.
But yeah, that's right. Some people just come for a coffee, and finally they still take a coral home and whatsoever. That's fine. I love this.
But you gave me inspiration.
Okay.
You really have, because, you know, I'm looking at retirement probably 5 years from now. And in 5 years from now, to set up something with your model that you have here, it would be advantageous because I still be able to do what I love. And, you know, I don't know about, you know, the people trancing through my house situation. Maybe to get a home with a side door, right?
Yeah, sure.
Right,
Even
so
better.
they can come in through the side door and walk into my place.
Right.
And I think,
Yeah.
you know, that would be advisable. But, you know, you have a good model here. It's inspirational to those who want to retire and still stay within the industry. So, you know, thank you so much for allowing us.
Most welcome. Thank you for coming.
I want you all to feel privileged that he allowed us to come into his home, learn a little bit about him, learn a little bit about his system. And until next time, stay tuned for this video. Until then, happy reefing.
Happy reefing.
You have to love reefing.